never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome and thank you for joining us here on this wonderful yet wet and rainy Wednesday. Hey, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's start things off with some open mic. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. It's open line, 949-8037, 949-8037. Or you can call us toll free with the kind compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. Have you share your thoughts with us. Give us your comments and your contribution. It may be just a question. Are you seeking clarification? Hey, perhaps it's that thing that needs to be said. Offer you up opportunity. I was truly honored to be able to sit not only with Mr. O.C. this morning, as he brought to you, in his only the way he can do it as he hosts For the Record, but to be in the presence of Captain Paul. And I said to O.C. then, it's like, in awe. I mean, here's a gentleman that not only has sailed the world, but in his humility. And it isn't in a feigned sense. You can see the genuine, sincere, truly admirable way in which he shares his stories and relays his experiences. And yet he tells you, he says he'll come from humble beginnings. He's worked his way up. He demonstrated a strong work ethic. He was able, perhaps in his own words, to hold his tongue at times, but when he felt, it's not opportune for me to stay here because of perhaps behaviors of colleagues, superiors and others, he found another ship. But he didn't leave under any sort of questionable circumstance. He just was moving on and upwards, eager to bring people along. And as we reflect on that, I say this with the greatest of respect and belief. In our people, there's a humility and there's a sense of a strong work ethic. It's unfortunate that we don't know who we are. We don't champion, what we've done, but we don't equally expect great things of ourselves. Is it because we don't have that love and respect for ourselves? So how can we have it for others? That's part of the reason why I'm grateful to be able to partner with Ray Banker for a monthly CWA saying, I know many of you have said, can you do this more often? Honestly, we would love to. But like everything, it takes time and resources and the challenges that Mr. Banker is having just to be able to get it once a month. Wow, that is in itself a story for another time. But we'll get there. And if we get there together, it'll be that much better. And it's not because our desire to celebrate this means we're going to exclude you, whoever you may be considered. It's about inviting you, involving you, and inspiring you, and encouraging you, and hopefully getting you to walk along, with us on this journey. Because when you think of this very small place, again, just reflect on the public conversations that Captain Paul has had with us here on Radio Cayman, whether it's on the record, for the record, here on Talk Today, other, opportunities Mr. Loxley has had him and others like him. It is a I don't know how you would even say it. I'm still in awe of some of the things he shared with us during the breaks. But to think that he would be in different parts of the world and on the ships or weather stations and other places, and to see the percentage of Caymanians that were there, recognizing that at that time how many people were in our population. And then as we dig through our history and find little snippets of our people, whether we're working in the Key West, building the railroad and braving the mosquitoes, with an understanding that coming near to Christmas, we're going to get in our catboats, come back to the Cayman Islands, spend our Christmas here, and at that appointed time, we're back via our catboats, braving the mosquitoes, working sun up to sundown, and so much so that whether it was, Mr. Flaglin, his commentators, or it's further on where, we have the shipping magnates at the time comment about our work ethic in a very positive way. And now to have people not only condemn us, but for some reason for us to sort of live up to that condemnation, now that's a reflection and an indictment on us. So let's step up to the plate and let's show our children that if they want something, they have to work for it, that we're going to reward them, for their efforts, but it's not because they show up and put their name on the paper that it means that they're qualified. They have to put in the work. Now, unfortunately, and this is something that is bugging me, I've had a number of students now from a couple of schools, but, two in particular, who have shared that their teachers are now saying to these students, well, what's the point in going off to furthering your studies? And I thought this is unfortunate. But what is even worse is when I relay this to people who should be in a position, they're dismissive of it. Makes me wonder. When we heard stories from, now our contemporaries who themselves have children and even grandchildren, recall that when they were in school and they were obviously very good with their hands at these things that we call the technical and vocational, areas, that they were being openly guided, we may say discouraged, but don't go into that. You want to work in this area, in the era when air conditioning buildings were just coming into vogue here in Cayman, and yet we had some people who were great mechanics, whether marine or automotive, who were wonderful carpenters, electricians, and plumbers, and other invaluable trades and contributors to our society, were instead working for a fraction, and perhaps in a very unhappy environment. Because when you see those same people out on their boats or in their garages after work and in late into the evenings and on weekends, doing for themselves and for others, sometimes for little or no pay, and you see the joy that was on their faces, you have to wonder, where are we as a people? So we invite you to call and share your thoughts. Not to be belligerent, not to be negative, but to be truthful, frank, open. You don't always have to be accommodating. You just have to be hospitable. And just because you disagree doesn't mean that you have to be vitriolic. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or if you can't call us on our toll-free line, if you prefer us to dial less digits, well, they say 7 is less than 10, but 10 is always better than 7. I don't know. 949-8037. Either way, you can share your thoughts with us. If you prefer to WhatsApp, 925-3261. If you want to email, well, we even have that. I can look at it if you send it through. I'll share with you, though. I've tested it too many times to not believe it. You send an email, it may not come through right away, but I don't know where it goes and why it takes so long. But anyway, talk today at candw.ky. Either way, you send it, we get it, we share it, if that's your choice. But be a part of it. Be a part of not just willingly moving this country forward in a very positive, productive way, but being willing to stand in the gap. Give us an example. So a friend just, not even 30 minutes ago, said to me, our mutual friend in government. I said, yeah. He said, pull them aside and we're having a conversation about a few things. The port, the Constitution, the economy, the environment, and thinking, he said, that we're good friends. I can share with him very frankly, very privately, not believing that it's going to fall in a way that causes a friction between us. But sometimes, if your brother can't draw alongside you and sort of give your perspective, then who can? Anyway, he says, I'm going to have to intervene now and try to find a way. He tells me to make amends. I thought, wow, maybe I share that with you. But let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Blessed and thankful. How about yourself?
Well, I must say, okay, I can't say I'm blessed and thankful like you. But, I keep thinking about what is going to happen in this island. I mean, I've talked to so many people. I've listened to so many people. And I really don't know what is going to happen, because the thing is, can you tell me how many MLAs know how many kids have graduated over the past 3 years and have not found a job? I mean, this is like, can you tell me what the MLAs are doing? I don't know if any of them can be held responsible for helping a kid, a young mother, a young father, or a young graduate, or anyone to say that they have personally helped someone do something. Because let me tell you, Caymanians are hurting. And when I say hurting, they're not going to come on the radio and say it, because a lot of them work as social workers or work for government, and they can't open their mouths. And, it's very a shame that people can't speak out, and they will come to different people and they will ask them for a little help or something. So, and this is not Cayman. Caymanians are known to be working, and if you give them a chance, they will all work. I am so sick and tired of hearing people say they have applied for jobs and no one is listening to these people. First, they tell them they need work experience. If they don't have a job, how can they ever get an experience? Then they're talking you're overqualified. Let me tell you something. How many people that are into the private sector, the government departments, that are not even qualified and are holding big positions, getting big money? You know something? Sometimes I just sit down and say, okay, when these people retire here, they're going to go back to their country with a Cayman dollar converted into U.S. Then every end of the month, they're going to still get their money put into their account. Then they can come back, and if they have a hip replacement, they can get it done on our government. They have benefits in the U.S. or anywhere they go in their own country. What are we doing? Do they see that we Cayman people need help? Or our young people, our kids are suffering? I mean, they're walking, getting the problems. They have to do something. I am sick and tired of these MLAs. Put every one of them together, they will not make one decent man. And I'm very sorry, and this is just the beginning. So, right now, I need to get off the phone. Thank you for listening. Have a good afternoon.
All right, thank you. And certainly we can understand, the emotive side of her comments. But with respect to the question, about MLAs, perhaps they rely maybe on the information we give them as the technocrats, the civil servants. Do we have that information through the data that we collect to know that over the last decade, last 3 years, whatever time frame, how many of our graduates have taken up full-time employment, are in school? What are they studying? Are we tracking that to be able to understand what our people are doing? Now, if they're not in school, do we understand why? Maybe you may want to pick us up on that. I can share some other things when we come back. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount, or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly. And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Open a world of knowledge and education with Flow. Bundle now and get smart back-to-school savings on Cayman's biggest network. Get 50% off HD quality Flow Evo TV and superfast broadband bundles now from $49.50 a month, and you could win one of 4 weekly laptop prizes from Flow and Office Supply. Enjoy TV on your mobile with Flow to Go and bring the classroom home with Flow Study. Do the smart thing and bundle smarter for back to school with Flow. Visit discoverflow.ky for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, Ray, are we ready for another See What I Say?
Yes, sir. We come with the topic breadfruit this time.
Breadfruit? How you spell that, Bobo?
We don't spell that. We eat that. Okay. We'll talk about how the mutiny on the bounty is directly related to our breadfruits. Our breadfruit we have in the yard, breadfruit we have in our plate.
So from Captain Bly to today?
Till today.
What's your favorite way to have the breadfruit?
On a plate.
Me too.
With butter.
Served up hot.
So join us this Friday for See What I'm Saying again.
See What I'm Saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
We're coming back, they allowed us to come back.
Yeah, if it's so good, you gotta do it again.
All right, this time it's breadfruit. Join us.
You gonna spell it?
You read it.
See What I'm Saying, brought to you by Cayman National Bank.
This Friday,
September 21st. See What I'm Saying.
Super Jam Showdown.
Gospel music has gone too far.
Positive Monday. Population Tuesday. Latino Heat Wednesday to Thursday. Back the hands of time.
Supersonic.
Gay Friday Brack Party Block Top 10 Count to Female Fridays.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Showdown. Weekdays 3 to 6. Brought to you by
Leap Diversify.
At Leap Diversify, they are dedicated to your educational pursuits. Visit www.leapdiversify.com.
Leap Diversify. They don't succeed unless you succeed.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. It's going to be some open line. 1 o'clock, we've got a scheduled discussion with our friends from the Education Ministry. We'll tell you a bit about that in a while. But hey, in the meantime, why don't you tell us what's on your mind? 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. You want to WhatsApp? Go right ahead. Got it right here in my hand. You can send through your thoughts. 925-3261. Of course, we offer you email as well. Talk today at candw.ky, and you can share your thoughts. And to the callers, last comment and questions. Where are we in our society with respect to what is it we're trying to achieve going forward as a nation? Do we have a vision and an objective? Is it, as some have alleged, that, hey, the question seems to be, who's going to race to get to the finish the fastest? Not because they're trying to win in order to make it better, but because to the victor go the spoils. And that I reflect on what the caller was asking. And do we, as a part of our national policy, as the conversation I alluded to earlier, where a friend he pulled aside his brother and said, listen, we need to look at a lot of things, from education to employment to the environment to all of the things that are affecting our economy, our social as well as our financial economy, to the point that we need to be able to be saying to our school leavers, we have a plan for you. We've put that plan in place from the very first day you started your education here in Cayman. And we're not going to stream you. We're not going to identify you based on anything other than your willingness to work, your demonstrated ability. So your last name, your ethnicity, the district you're from. The things he said that seem to have been very evident, but yet unspoken in his upbringing. And to this day, he still believes that it is still part and parcel, but he says it's becoming even worse in that there seems to be a push to advance some at the expense of others. And some of you may understand the coded message, others you may be scratching your heads and wondering, but what are we doing in order to address it, and are we having those conversations? He said that he's now to the point where he's considering are we as a people looking at the cost of running this economy? Not just the financial cost with the number of people we've elected to those that we have appointed, whether within the civil service or on boards, but those who operate private sector businesses, whether they're from here or otherwise, whether they're part of the country now because of their immigration status. But he says many times it seems that Cayman is seen as a cash cow and it's exploited by all of us. And he says we're not looking at it as to the eventual long-term cost to the country. He shared that over the years he has tried to put aside mostly some of the the younger men, whether through a sporting organization or activity or otherwise, and try to get them, he said, to a point where they start to value themselves. And increasingly, he believes that they see their value, their worth by not only the clothes that they wear or the cars that they drive when they get to that stage, but the way they are perceived by their peers. So it's gone beyond that gangster mentality, he said, to where they have to openly demonstrate a bad streak in order to be attractive to others, in order to be elevated within their peer group. And he thought, where did we go wrong? And when did we get to that point where that work ethic that he thought he had certainly was evident in his parents and grandparents and all the elders in his village, to now where the less you do, the more celebrated you are, the more of a, and his words, a bad, and you fill in the blanks, it seemed to be the better. And he thought something is seriously wrong with that point. Now, I share that to say that he was reflecting on the conversation when he said to his friend, he says, we need to step up and do things differently. And it may mean that some of us are going to be displaced, some of us are going to be demoted, and some of us are going to have to just, as he puts it, decommission. And unfortunately, that is not something that seems to be, that appealing, alluring, popular to some others, because they know that chances are they're going to be in that rung of people who will fall in that category. But he said, just like he undertakes his new construction project, he has to clear some of the debris, the bushes and the like, in order to get started. But if he doesn't do so carefully, cautiously, and with a strong consideration to what it's going to cost to, put that project back in the ground, if he knocks down all the trees, for instance, and now he's going to replant, well, could he have saved the trees, transplanted it, or otherwise? It's the same thing that we have in our society, or we're not being conscious of our actions. But worse, he shared, is that we seem to want to get, overnight to a place that is taking the larger or more developed nations, not just decades, but centuries. And when we see that they are still struggling from some of their decisions, we are blindly and foolhardily, he says, going down our same path and making the same missteps. Now, what do you think? 949-8037. Or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. As we invite you to share your thoughts with us and provide your insight and your contribution. Now, back to what we were sharing earlier, in that in this whole scheme of things, we're seeing that some of our young people are not just very ambitious, but very motivated. The educators will tell you that there seems to be a thing that happens in the schools when, maybe up until end of primary school or early middle school, they're still excited about education, and then it starts to, sort of drift off to some extent. Now, some will give you part of the reasons for that. Let's go to our phones, though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I am calling to support that lady that called.
Yes, sir.
We should stop encouraging that saying that has been here. Of all my father's children, I love myself the best. So long I get my belly full, I don't give a damn about the rest. She I'm not saying that all our legislators is not doing anything, but I'm sure going to say this, that they're not doing their best in every way. They got to realize that a child coming out of school, whatever they're school for, they can't be over-experienced. And unless they're given a chance, no one will know how good or bad they are. And unless our people, all of us, stand for our children, giving them a chance to learn, because you don't learn in school what you do out here in the big world, university. And this saying about you're too experienced or you're unexperienced, we need to face the fact. No one can be too experienced for the job that they should be doing. And unless, I hate to be a prophet of doom, but unless our people wake up from this slumber and realize that, well, there's a job there that my brother can do, you either get rid of the one you got when that permit is up and give them a chance. Because, Mr. Jim used to go to these people and say, you either give them a break or you'll be out of one yourself. And that's the attitude that we should employ among us. Give them a chance. They can't be too experienced or too unexperienced unless you get it from the job that is there for you.
As I listen to you, and we see that we seemingly have allowed, what you're sharing to be the norm. I'm looking for somebody to do this, and you come in with these skill sets, these qualifications. You're denied a job, one, because you don't have the experience, the qualifications, or you're told, well, we'd love to hire you, but you're overqualified. Yeah. I've asked a couple of people to try to explain that to me, and as I said to them with the greatest respect, I don't quite understand that.
Right.
If I'm going to hire you and you're willing to do a job and we're going to sign a contract for 1 year or 10 years, and as long as I pull up my end of the contract and you're willing to work for the sum that I'm offering you and you're going to bring your skill sets and your work ethic, the fact that you have an MD or a PhD and all I need you to do is come help me, clean my windows or wash my car, it really should it really matter?
Yeah. But in a way that shouldn't, but a man that is qualified for a job, regardless of what that job is, he should not be pushed around and about simply because you don't want to give him the job. This is what is happening. And I'm a person, I work in different places, I went to sea, and I know that no one can be over-experienced for the job that they are hired for. They may think that way, but that's a mistake. You got to do your best, the very best. Any less than that is not good enough, not over-experienced. I'm sure that many of our people can do jobs that others are hired to do. And those who hire them use the word too lazy or too experienced. You're either one or the other. You're qualified or you're not qualified. But no one can prove that until they're given a chance.
That's true, huh?
Yeah. And it's not, let's not blame foreigners. Some of them, they have that mind too, that of all my father's children, I love myself the best. And no one can blame them for that, because we are all made up like that. I am first. But I got to realize that there are others that are good enough. They have the same problems I have. I get hungry. I want good clothes and shoes and all the other accessories for life. Our children coming out of school well qualified by the book, but that's not good enough. Give them a chance, and they will prove whether they are good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Without a chance, they can't get that experience. And it is time that our people, whether foreigners doing it or whether our own, this is our island. The only place that they can claim the right to a job or anything else. And we must make up our mind to be fair.
Yes, sir.
Fair, not hard. Fair.
Fair. Well, I appreciate you sharing. Anything else you want to share with us, sir?
Right now, I ain't got much to say.
Okay, well, you shared enough.
We have a good island, and there's plenty of work here. Otherwise, those from overseas wouldn't be here. Our children need to get that experience by the work that is provided for them by God Almighty. It seems to be that in our days that man is thinking that God is out of existence. He has no authority. But you know, it isn't no one that so qualified to tell what we are like until some serious thing hit them. And then we know that God is there to help. Oh, God, help me. And that we should pray every day. Oh, God, help me to do what is right and pleasing in your sight.
Amen. Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You have a very pleasant afternoon, and may the Lord bless you.
Amen.
To do the job you're doing. And I think you're qualified to it, but I don't think you're overqualified. Okay?
Well, thank you for the prayer and encouragement and blessings to you too, sir.
Okay.
All right. All the best. Let's take another call. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and how are you?
Oh, blessed. Very thankful. How about yourself?
I'm blessed too. I can't say anything else but blessed. I mean, God has blessed us with some rain and some thunder and lightning to let us know He is still the boss.
Yep.
Yes. Dwayne, I didn't get in this morning, but I really enjoyed Captain Paul and OC, and I'm glad to know that he's recovering. But he, I guess it was his eye, and you should have. Well, he said in the time you could invite him on because he has such a good memory, and God, I pray to God that He'll, give him the health and strength to come on that radio and say what the Caymanians have done in the past to help build Cayman and to earn a decent and honest living for their families. Thank you, Captain Paul, and thank you, Dwayne. I know you were on there too, so you had an early morning.
But a very wonderful one.
Yeah, and thank OC as well. But I also want to thank Mr. Rupert just now for what he have said.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to throw some of this blame on our own people that have businesses. And they're not looking behind at some of the Caymanians that are qualified. A friend of mine told me a few days ago that, well, he don't drink anymore. And he says he decided he would go to one of the popular bars just that has, he says, that have a lot of Caymanian people go there.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked the waitress for a Diet Coke. And she was gone so long. He said, well, I wonder what happened to her. Then he found out that she didn't even understand what he said. Then the other one came and said what was he going to drink. But it was with a very heavy accent, Spanish accent, and he speaks Spanish. So he told her in Spanish, and she went back and told the other waitress that can't speak any English. But yet these people get hired. These people get hired. Now, what is that doing for the island? And what is that doing for our youngsters that would like to go into tourism and knowing that they speak English and maybe another language for what you know, but they're not getting hired. It is other people that can't. Then we talk about importing poverty. That's exactly what is happening. That's exactly what happened. So I wonder if some of our representatives and the Immigration Department for granting, we got to put the blame on our Immigration Department and the people that push them and their higher-ups that push them to say, grant that person, oh, this is a good businessman. Because you know, they do talk too. They do talk too that what is going on. But our youngsters are coming out of school, no jobs, no kind of jobs. Not saying that they have to go into tourism or go into being a waitress or a waiter, which is no disgrace in that. This is an honorable job, and you're doing it honestly. I had to do it. Many others from FBA had to do it. But they need to look into these kind of things, because I'm sure I cannot go to Jamaica and demand any job there, because their people come first. I've been to Jamaica many times, and I've seen that over and over. Their people come first. And all the rest of the Caribbean islands, it is only here that getting away with these things. And then when you open your mouth, you're a bad person, or they'll blackball you or blackball your child, that they can't get jobs. So, you know, just like Mr. Rupert say, they're not going to get the experience unless you give them a chance. We put our X every 4 years by people's name that we think they could represent us, and we wonder afterwards, are they really representing us or what? And we gave them a chance. then we do turn around and pay them and big salaries and whatnot. So, Caymanians need to get up and say, this island is ours. And I heard Donald Trump talking about, which he's a crazy man as far as I'm concerned, but about taking America back. No, we got to take Cayman back. America's always back. It's just that you got crooks like that all over the world, not only in America, but we cannot keep following what other countries do. We own a tiny country, and we cannot hire the whole world and leave out our own people.
I mean, the sentiments that you're hearing, President Trump being echoed, and probably said before. You see the new, political party that is expected to be formed in Canada, the People's Party. They're talking about the same thing, Canada for Canadians. We've seen it across the EU and other parts. So it's maybe not to be vitriolic, but it may be a semblance of patriotism. Well, any other thoughts before we go to our news that you may want to share? No,
sir. I can leave it to the news and thank you and OC and most of all Captain Paul. And I know he's welcome back at Cayman.
Radio Cayman and Cayman Areas also.
Radio Cayman. I so used to saying Cayman Areas, I can't get it out, but I'm out of my thoughts.
It all has a special place in our hearts. That's true.
Not Cayman Areas anymore, I tell you.
Thank you all.
Radio Cayman is a good station. You all do a good job. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you for those kind words, and enjoy your afternoon. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. We're going to take a break. We're going to pick up our news. When we come back, we're going to have a chance to speak about education. And an opportunity for you to join us, be informed. There's a conference, there's some things happening, and certainly want you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating.
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. Now extended until September 28th. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
This is Caitlin Tyson, your Miss Cayman Islands Universe. Every 3 seconds, someone in the world develops dementia. September is World Alzheimer's Month. On Friday, 21st of September, light a candle in memory of a loved one who has lost their battle to the disease, or those living with the disease. For more information about Alzheimer's or any other dementia, contact a member of ADACI on 924-4170 or visit their website at www.adacayman.com.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion, brought to you by Merengue Town. Take a walk on the wild side. It's time to feel the rhythm, time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town. RC Fusion.
RC Fusion.
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands and sponsored by One Trade X. Join Money Sense this Thursday at 7:30 a.m. as we chat with both the chairman and the CEO of the Sri Lankan Securities Exchange Commission. How do other countries seek to protect investors from frauds and dishonest behavior? What can we learn here in Cayman? What are their views on the investment opportunities today in emerging markets? Tune in this Thursday and listen exclusively on Radio Cayman. Tweet us at Money Sense Radio or email any questions to moneysense@Kandiwaki. Money Sense, the only personal finance radio show in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you with the support of One Trade X.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
A police traffic operation lands a 30-year-old Georgetown man behind bars for drug charges. A spokesperson for the RCIPS says shortly after 2 a.m. on Monday, officers on patrol stopped a Honda Civic along Walker's Road. While speaking to the driver, officers detected a smell of ganja coming from the car. A subsequent search of the vehicle resulted in the recovery of a container with several packets of suspected cocaine. Police say the man was also arrested on suspicion of possession and consumption of ganja, possession of cocaine with intent to supply, and consumption of cocaine. The man remains in police custody. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. President Donald Trump has said he does not have an attorney general in his fiercest attack yet on Jeff Sessions. In an interview with Hill TV, Mr. Trump renewed criticism of Mr. Sessions' decision to step aside from the inquiry into alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. He also said he was unhappy with Mr. Sessions' response to immigration. The attorney general is yet to respond to Mr. Trump's comments. 2 women have been arrested after they were caught selling sweets and cakes containing marijuana in a church in the U.S. state of Georgia. The marijuana edibles, Ebony Cooper and Leah Presley, were offering included cereal treats, brownies, and puddings, police say. The arrest occurred at an event the church in the city of Savannah was holding for local entrepreneurs. The pair were detained after the event and face felony drug charges. And a U.S. woman has broken the long-standing cycling world land speed record. Denise Mueller-Korinek rode a custom bike at an average of 183.932 miles per hour across the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah on September 16th. Following a racing car driver in a dragster, Mueller-Korinek smashed a world record of 167 miles per hour that had stood since 1995. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM. Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands and sponsored by One Trade X. Join Money Sense this Thursday at 7:30 a.m. as we chat with both the chairman and the CEO of the Sri Lankan Securities Exchange Commission. How do other countries seek to protect investors from frauds and dishonest behavior? What can we learn here in Cayman? What are their views on the investment opportunities today in emerging markets? Tune in this Thursday and listen exclusively on Radio Cayman. Tweet us at Money Sense Radio or email any questions to moneysense@Kandiwaki. Money Sense, the only personal finance radio show in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you with the support of One Trade X.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because questions and answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us here in this edition of Talk Today. We get a chance to speak to you about education and honored to be able to welcome, as I tell you, the numeracy specialists. We just call him Mr. Math. Mr. Frankie, thank you, sir. Pleasure to have you on board this afternoon again.
My pleasure as well.
All right, and joining us from University of Colorado, Professor of Mathematics, Professor David Webb. It's a pleasure to meet you, man. A few minutes of chatting with you, I'm thinking, if I was a student in your class, I would either be favored or in trouble. I'm not quite sure which one. I don't know. It's most unfortunate sometimes that even as parents, and I'm told by some of my friends who are educators, that we inadvertently do things with our children, to get them to be turned off math for some reason. I don't know. Numbers, I love numbers, Don't lie when we misinterpret them. Yeah. So, as we chat about it, Mr. Eid, maybe we'll ask you to set the stage because there's a conference coming up. We get a chance to explore. Good afternoon. Welcome,
okay.
sir.
Basically, the conference has been run in Colorado for about the last 10 years. Right. Okay, and the RME committee asked that we do it in Cayman. This time. It's an international conference and people are coming from all over the world, and it's run tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, and it's about this thing called realistic maths education. And if I summarise it as being two things, one is about using reality to help children make sense of mathematics. It's not done to them. They are actually trying to solve problems and the like. And the other thing is the visualization. We want children to be able to see and draw so that they can talk about stuff. So often, when I was a child, it was done on the board to me, as it were.
You had boards back then?
I used to like it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Over to David. Would you like to say?
Yeah.
Of course. So I before I was a professor at Colorado, I was a middle school and high school mathematics teacher. And so I had a chance to experience what it was like to help students who struggled with mathematics become more acquainted.
Professor, I'd ask you to do me a favor. Actually, Mr. Frank, bring his mic a little closer to him so we can hear the professor much better.
Okay. Is that better?
Mr. Fox, is that better? Oh, boy, okay.
No problem. So, as a teacher, I had a great deal of experience, and this was in Los Angeles, so a wide range of students, and most of those students would have coming into my class would have some difficulties, some prior experiences which were negative. So trying to wake them up again and increase their interest was something I was always being challenged with. When I was introduced to realistic math education, I found resources and tools and ideas of how to create instruction and even assessments that were interesting for students and were more engaging and could draw them in.
Now when we talk about realistic math education, RME, sometimes we hear about consumer math, for instance. Similar?
No.
Okay.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
We would use the consumer idea for the children to make sense.
Okay.
But what it isn't about is teaching them the skills to live to understand the economics and that sort of thing. It is a strategy to actually help them get better at maths. A byproduct is the consumer side of it.
Right.
Is that a fair statement?
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
And this notion that we can visualize numbers in math, we're getting to a point in Cayman anyway to realize that there are multiple intelligences, different teaching paradigms to reflect different learning styles. And to me, math, I mean, to see it on the board, to be able to use manipulatives and the like, bring it to life. The child gets to appreciate it, the student, and it becomes this thing that's no longer a scary monster. But somehow we need to make that transition. So maths as a language, perhaps, Professor?
I think what's nice about the visualization component of realistic math education is it does give students something to talk about. It's easier to talk about than more of the abstract forms. Those visual tools are ways to build bridges to the more abstract mathematics that we also want students to understand, but understand, not just remember.
How do we get to that point? Because I don't want to be critical by any means. And it's partly, I confess, my ethos, that I believe that education is that thing that I see to this day. My mother, as she tells the great-grandchildren what she told us, and she points to her head and says, once you have it here, nobody can take it from you. That we go about it, and as we learn to speak and play an instrument and play a sport and interact, math is that thing that gives us that tool. So, Mr. Frank, from that perspective,
right. Now, I think there's a lot. This is a complicated business. Okay, one of the things I think is the adults, their own fear of the mathematics, and they convey that to their children. I think that's so one thing we need to do is actually do sessions for parents, do some training, give them their own confidence. When I do a session with parents, one of the things I do tell them is, if you hated maths when you were at school, don't tell your children that. Because they'll see that that's all right.
Transference, we do it.
But for me, the other side then is getting teachers to be confident in this way of teaching. And I've got to say it's getting better and better. Yeah, as always, we've got a long, long way to go. But I have seen some lovely lessons in the last few years where the teachers are getting the children to articulate what they're thinking. I saw a lesson the other day where they were introducing place values. You remember tens and units and all that. And they didn't do it formally. They did it as part of the chocolate factory. And the guy was making chocolates in boxes and packets and so on. And the teacher said, how would you make 53 candies? How would you do it? And I just said, to one of the children, I just used this one, which is 100, okay? And he said, they'll go broke if they do that. And he was justifying the mathematics in terms of the situation that the teacher had introduced. That's what we want, children to feel that, this is a sense-making thing.
Now, with that, the RME conference, who is going to be there? I mean, teachers, parents, me, you? I mean,
right.
Who's going to be there?
It's an international conference, so there is around about 50, 60, 70 people coming from all over the world. They tend to be people who are working in universities or working in a ministry or something like that. But there are also about 25 teachers are going to be here on Thursday and Friday. And we've selected the teachers who we think will be able to go back into their own schools and get those ideas going.
So you hand-selected those teachers across the schools?
Yeah.
Private and public schools?
We've selected the public schools, but we've given a discount to the private schools to bring teachers there, and on Saturday it's more open, more still, so there'll be about 25 more teachers coming then.
And Professor, when we think about that, when we look at education, but math in particular, as Mr. Frank shared earlier, we who are perhaps the parents a little bit timid or intimidated by math, and we had to do it in order to get our degree or to even finish high school. When we get to that point, we transfer that aversion, that sort of fear. But sometimes as well, though, and I've heard this from a few students, past students and teachers who shared, we're teaching to a subject, so on the exam sort of example, there are 3 questions, but don't do number 2 because that's not going to be on the exam. So learn 1 and 3, then you can go back in. Now, there are 2 problems. What if number 2 does pop up? But worse, later on in life, that concept that was introduced in number 2, you don't know it, you've memorized 1 and 3, but you don't know it. You just know how to get the answer, but you don't know why.
Right.
Is that still a problem in our system?
I think one of the fascinating things about this approach is giving confidence to students to do mathematics that they haven't necessarily been, quote, trained how to do, that they have confidence in tackling problems that are new, that look unfamiliar. And I mean, a really big piece of this, besides what Frank had mentioned, is really it's about problem solving. And when you leave the schools in the world, we're solving problems all the time. So,
can I ask you to help me so that I can answer some of this? Recent times, some individuals have been trying to determine how to assess our math educators, and anyone who speaks the language or is perceived to be better at something, we can't question them. You go to your physician, and she tells you, well, this is it, and you're going, I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but okay, we can assess that person. Many have questioned, I don't want to say complain, that sometimes in our schools systems, whether public or private, the math teacher, whether at the first level or whether at the high school level, we don't know whether they know what they know. We don't know how to determine that. And that potentially could be a problem that was only compounded and only discovered 10, 15, 20 years after the fact. How do we address that?
Now, personally, I think, by the way, this is a worldwide issue.
No, sorry. Yeah. I'm speaking globally. Yes.
I think when you're trying to assess teachers or assess the teaching profession, very often they pick very simple measures. And teachers know how to play the game to succeed in giving those measures. So you've got to have a very, very good understanding of what effective teaching looks like in a classroom. And for me, doing what they call walkthroughs, which is going in maybe 10 minutes into lessons on a regular basis and seeing that it's happening, that's how you measure effectiveness. Personally, we also want the children to do better in exams, but as soon as you start measuring tests as the measure of teacher performance, those kids get better, but the teaching hasn't got better.
Professor?
Yeah, I would agree largely with what Frank said, but it's you want an authentic assessment. I mean, if what really matters is how teachers interact with children, you want to be able to observe that. So having just a paper test or looking at students' test scores, it tweaks, it constrains instruction in ways that often can lead to counterproductive results. Where students are just able to maybe do better on some items, but it's taught in such a way where they'll forget it.
Regurgitating, not necessarily being able to recall it because they'll learn the concepts. All right, from the University of Colorado, Professor of Mathematics David Webb, together with Mr. Frank Eade, our numeracy specialist here. Then let me ask from that perspective, because I think as parents, as well as policymakers, we're always trying to figure out how to make it better. And we're saying the right things, but we're not quite sure how to transition. Because sometimes, I mean, I want to get in shape and be muscular and look handsome, but it's going to take work. There's no magic pill. So we need to sometimes do those things. Are we willing to do those things?
I must say, when I've run parents' evening sessions, they have been very, very positively experienced. And I think the parents love this idea that I understand now how that works. It makes sense. And David and I were just talking. If I want to add on 19, add on 20, and then take one off. Now, when the parents see that for the first time, oh, wow, it's obvious, and I can help my child now,
Right.
And so they begin to talk in the same language as the child, if you like. But it's a big learning curve because they were taught very, very traditionally.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, not only, and I'm glad you referenced that, Mr. Frank, because even the parents who may have postgraduate studies, for instance, oh, yes, I remember doing this back then, but, and they're not either able or to recall when the child is in high school or even in middle school doing this thing, and they look at it, well, the answer is 4. I'm not sure how do I get there. So the parent exhibits a level of frustration. Professor, take us away. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do think, oftentimes, even teachers, but parents will teach, work with their children in the ways that they were taught. So, I mean, that's just something that will happen and to be expected. But I think if there's any point of advice in terms of the parent nights that Frank is doing and having parents engage in doing math, but from a different perspective. I mean, part of this also is about asking questions and not just showing. So oftentimes, if an answer is wrong, well, let me show you how to do it. I mean, there might be times when that's appropriate, but I think more often than not, just asking questions can really especially from a more curious perspective about, well, how do you think about this? And then you can start connecting the dots as a parent to, well, then let's do this.
And one thing I would do is give them a problem, and then actually you find out there's about 4 or 5 different ways of doing it. And hang on, they're all legitimate.
Yeah.
So, and you can, that's an interesting way. I'd never thought of doing it like that, and so on.
Yeah. That's the thing, I think, as we sort of evolve and develop new skill sets when it comes to math, to get to an addition problem, maybe do some subtraction, division, otherwise, getting us to think, constructively, critically. Now, for those who are listening, as Professor shared, if you got a question to ask, why not? We offer you up your telephone number, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. This is where I think we as a society need to be driving and changing this paradigm. Now, as Professor of Mathematics in particular, Mr. Webb, when we look at this notion that, say in high school, children are introduced now to not just numbers but letters in a math, not just numbers but invisible numbers as well, and they're starting to formulate these things and they're seeing that there's this abstract. How do we bring that now to the RME concept to say, well, there's a realistic component to this? Because that child, we want you to become the engineer and go into university and be the professor, but equally, maybe pass the CPA or otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point. And so at the university level, so I'm an affiliate faculty in the math department, and our calculus courses begin with problems. They begin with problem contexts. I think the first question in one of our Calculus 1 courses is about an Ebola outbreak and rates of change, and it leads to calculus concepts. So yes, there are certainly abstract forms of mathematics that they'll pursue at a higher level. But we've been applying these same principles so that undergraduate math, high school math, doesn't become yet another filter. And we're finding more students are more interested, more successful. And this is happening. So this is happening at the tertiary level, at the undergraduate level as well. These are actually concepts of how learning can be strengthened in ways that bring greater relevance to what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. And just out of interest, one of the things that because I've seen the slide that David's going to use, is there's a problem with hats and umbrellas, okay, and it's about system of linear equations. What we used to call simultaneous equations. Yeah. And this is back in England now. I put a 2x plus 3y blah 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 on the board, and I said to the kids, "Can you solve that?" And they looked horrified at first. And then one kid said, "That's hats and umbrellas."
Aha.
And they're all then, yes, they knew how to do it. It made sense to them.
Those contexts are memorable.
Exactly. And I'm going to ask you some examples. But, Jens, we do have a call online.
Okay.
Let's go to our phones, down our headsets. Seatbelts are optional. Mr. Frank Keith, Professor David Webb. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, you're talking about numeracy, and I think math and problem solving and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
And I think what I've heard so far, I don't know what else is to come, but it seems that all that stuff has been going on probably ever since time. And I'll give you a little background. I went through almost the entire school system in Cayman 70 years ago. And I went to high school in Florida. And in thinking back, comparing how I was taught there and how I was taught here at Cayman, I think that they may be just trying to modernize the basic concept too much, because when you're talking about math, I believe there are children coming out of schools all over the world nowadays that don't even know their multiplication table or their division table or their subtraction table. And all of those things through my life, and I'm over the 80, have served me quite well in throughout my life. And I wonder if the professors there have ever heard of the term "figure in your head."
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think this is a concept, and I know especially out here in Cayman many years ago, that was a concept that was practiced, and you had to get some level of competency in it, where you could, somebody could throw out a bunch of numbers, and before you know it, you use your subtraction table, your multiplication table, your division table, and little logic, and you come up with the answer. But if these children are coming out of school, don't know their multiplication tables, and I have witnessed this, don't know their division tables, don't know their subtraction tables, and some of the other basic stuff that went along with math education over the years, then, and I'll go back to the thing, it may be the concept of modernizing all this process, is not getting us too far.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I have a go at answering that. I think the first thing to say is that 7 years ago, about 25% of primary children were reaching the required standard. Now it's 62%. So something has changed. The other thing, I think, my experience in Cayman, when I have talked to adults about what we're trying to do, the first thing I see is fear. And lots of people say, one was actually an accountant, and she said, I hated maths at school. Now, so some people have been successful, yes, in what they learn. Others were not. Now, the problem, I think, in remembering back 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70 years is I think we end up distorting how good people were or how bad people were. The truth is, I don't think I know what the standard of teaching was like in Cayman at that time. So I can't really comment on it.
Well, in Colorado, well, actually, I'll go back even further. When I was teaching high school, it was acceptable within the department to have a failure rate in math classes of 50%. Wow. And it was an acceptable loss. Yeah. And I didn't quite understand that, that whatever approach we're using, it's okay if students aren't doing well on the test. That's just what's been going on. So this was back in the 80s, early 90s. So we've taken a different approach nowadays to realize, look, students can understand mathematics. Students can engage in mathematics. And I also want to point out that certainly knowing times tables, knowing your number facts, absolutely, that's important. That has not been lost in this program at all. It's more of an interest in one, engaging students in it to find some interest and to see how they can participate in mathematics. But the other side of it is to know why it works.
The why. You still there, sir? Okay. No, thanks. Just want to make sure I didn't. But gents, when we look at it, and a couple of things come to mind as the caller was sharing. This idea of rote learning, some was, whether it was recitations or poetry and others, some we were through, math, the times table, and we do that. That I say this with great respect. That didn't work for me. I needed to know why. Yes. I needed to understand how. And I find out with the few students I engage in that they're more, Professor, I'll ask you respectfully, to guide us in that thing, the more intellectually inclined or academically inclined that child is, the more curious, the more willing the child wants to know. Well, why? How did we get there? And the why? The more difficult and challenging it is for the parent, the teacher, but the more rewarding, because then the child can go back and apply that to everything else. But how do we transition? Because it's easier to say, here, the answer is read. Just write it down, read. Well, how was it read? Well, because, we put chocolate in with the batter and we added some sprinkles. I don't know. Make them understand the why and the how. Mm-hmm. How do we get there?
I do think problems can be designed in ways that draw anyone in. Mm-hmm. And when I say by anyone, one experience I had was in a community college classroom, college algebra class. And the instructor had challenged us to say, well, I don't think logarithms can be taught in a way that anyone can make sense of. You have to just teach it in a very factual way. So she said, if you could design something that was more accessible, I'll teach it. Mm-hmm. We did. And I remember in that classroom, over a period of about 5 class periods, seeing students who were barely hanging on maybe barely passing the class, they started asking questions. They started, because of the way the problems were asked and inviting students to participate and not just listen and write notes, the students who were struggling with the class were fully engaged, and it was the students who were used to being told what to do, who were getting a little frustrated at first, that eventually also caught on as well. And so the number of times I've experienced that where by posing questions that invite students to share their ideas and then using that information to direct instruction, that approach turns the table for students that normally a teacher might say they're not going to make it. These are students who are not going to pass the class. But I've seen students re-engage with mathematics. And in that community college class, we had students from age 19 to age 60. So this can happen with any learners of mathematics.
All right, well, that's straight to the question I want to ask about. Gents, we do have another caller joining us. Okay. Really appreciate the interest in education. It shows that as a public, as a country, we really want to advance. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, well, I just come back on because
sir.
I got cut off. I want to pick up what one of the professors there said, that part of his experience was that if you had a 50% pass in math test or whatever, it was acceptable. Now, many years ago, when I went to school, if I had 12 math problems to solve, and if I didn't get at least 10 or 11 of them right, then there were some consequences. Right. I had to be able to reach that level. Yes. Has that gone out of the educational system universally?
No, and also let me elaborate on that further. So when I was describing the 50% failure rate as acceptable, I was referring to the percentage of students who would not pass the entire class. So in terms of grades, in terms of grading standards, no, that hasn't changed. I think, if anything, the grading standards have become a bit more challenging in the sense that the questions that students are being expected to answer involve a bit more reasoning than just recall. Recall's part of it. Recall and memorization is part of it, but we're asking them to go further with that. So,
yes, sir.
Let me ask you this: do you think that the advent of modern technology, all of the calculators and so forth? I remember when Texas Instruments calculator first came on the market. I think it was about $1,700 for a little handheld calculator, and everybody seemed to rush towards get these calculators because it had all of the various logarithms and these other things on. But do you think that the advent of introducing maybe too much technology into the process of basic thinking and problem solving has sort of decreased the level of where we want to go in math?
I'll have a go at that. I don't think so. I think one of the things you need to be clear, teachers allow children to use the calculator some of the time, and other times they are not allowed to use it. And some of the time they're actually using the calculator to solve much harder problems than they could have ever solved before, because the basic calculation is now put aside because they just press a few buttons, but they're solving problems that are much, much more conceptually demanding. So I've got to say, the calculator, you need to be careful, but the calculator is actually a useful tool. So is the spreadsheet, and so on. We can't deny the existence of this technology. We've got to adapt to making it useful in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. I do think early on, with respect to what you said, early on when the calculators did become available and more and cheaper, and they were prevalent in schools, there certainly was an observed dependency on these, but I think that a bit of wisdom has developed over the last 20 years about the use of the calculator, as Frank described. And so, no, teachers are much more careful as to know the proper place and to use these forms of technology.
We go back Pythagoras and Einstein didn't have calculators, yet they came up with some of the most valuable math discoveries in the world.
Sure, but for instance, something that has come on, let's say, over the last century is statistics and probability. And while you can do some basic computation with mean, median, and mode and such, once you go beyond that, trying to do all of this by hand, it almost becomes overwhelming to try to do anything that gets close to even a moderate set of data. So, and that's a huge part of where math curricula has been going in terms of the need for students to make sense of lots of information. So there are places where the tools like a calculator are useful, and there's places where it should be put aside so students can demonstrate understanding and number sense and other things too.
And do mental mathematics as well.
Yeah.
Maybe all of that should be combined with the figure in the head.
But that's what we do recognise, that figure in the head is an important idea, that you can think it through in your head. You don't have to have pencil and paper to do it, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else, sir?
No.
Yeah.
For today.
Okay. No. Well, thank you for sharing. Can we get a few more minutes of your time? We want to ask a couple of things. When we come back, our gents, not only eloquent, they've actually been accused once in a while of being handsome. So you can tune into YouTube if you want to see them. But certainly listen here. Tell your friends. 949-8037 and give us a call during the break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Babe, not tonight. I need to be rested for all-day meetings tomorrow.
What are you talking about? I was almost asleep.
You keep poking me, and I can't sleep.
That's the mattress spring I keep telling you about. Not me. We really need to get a new mattress.
Tossing and turning, back hurting, can't sleep? It might be time to turn in your old mattress and go to bed with a new one. Browse the huge mattress showroom at Brand Source Home Gallery and pick the perfect mattress today. With mattresses to suit every budget, Brand Source Home Gallery stocks a wide selection of sizes and styles like pillow top and gel memory foam. So stop tossing and turning and sleep better tonight with a new mattress from Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also, discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Save the dates, Cayman, for HomeFest 2018, Cayman's Home Expo. Join A.L. Thompson's and more than 60 exciting vendors Friday and Saturday, September 28th and 29th. Why does HomeFest get bigger each year? Because you ask for it. You want new products, more demos, and more interaction, so we bring them to you. If you want cutting edge and once-a-year savings, join us for Cayman's Home Expo. It's Home Fest at A.L. Thompson's.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real. You can recover. It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
I thought I was too far gone. I wasn't.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
The world is a beautiful place again. If you, your family member, or friend are in need of support, please contact Department of Counseling Services at 949-8789.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Is this thing working? Give me some sound over here.
Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show for your radio, featuring Will Sinatra.
Now, sound is everything.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, and calypso, and an entertainment trivia section. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for listening, sharing. And in the studio, Mr. Frank Eade and Professor David Wabe from the University of Colorado. Thanks very much as we talk about RME conference. Let me tell you more about it. But gents, let's go back to our phones and hear what our callers have to share. Sure. Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, blessed and thankful. How about yourself?
I'm doing lovely.
All righty.
Good afternoon to your guest. I'm not sure if you guys can answer this question for me, or Mr. Sterling, if you could find out the answer for me.
Okay. It's probably 2 + 2 to the power of 10 minus... No, it's probably not. Just kidding.
Well, my question is in regards to the passing of students for... to say we'll pass them on to a higher grade and stuff like that, or pass them from tests to get them out of school. Why do our systems do not keep the kids them that the teachers notice cannot pass a certain grade? Why they don't hold them back?
So social promotion then is what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay. Good question.
It's a really it's in one way it's what a lot of people say, hold the kids back and then they'll do better, and some countries do that. I've got to say the evidence is overwhelming that actually the children who are held back do even worse, because they're in their class now, they're older than the other children, and they've now been confirmed that they were useless. One of the things that we've got, and we've introduced it in Cayman, is when children are struggling, give them support, individualise support. We have a thing called maths recovery that helps those children. So the trick is to identify the children who are struggling, help them. The holding back, I've got to say, you have to take my word for this, it generally speaking just does not work.
Mom, you still there?
Well, I wouldn't say it doesn't work, because I know when I was in school, for example, primary school time, I know 4 of my classmates actually got held back because they weren't doing good. They basically did not do good to pass the marks to go over to, for example, from year 4 to year 5. And they got held back. So they actually got held back into my year. And they actually graduated with me. They passed. They did well. And right now, to be honest with you, some of them are holding good jobs.
Okay. Professor, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that is, in terms of what Frank is pointing to in terms of the research, proportionally, most don't get that support as your classmates did. The held back experience is more devastating, and they don't recover as well. So no, I think with almost any kind of intervention, there's certainly cases of those who come out of it in a positive way. But Frank is pointing to research from across many countries that disfavors that approach. But there are instances where it can work, and I think that's what you're pointing to, and as some anecdotal evidence.
Okay, so basically, it's like it wouldn't be something to look into to pinpoint some of the kids that would do better that way, and those that we probably think won't.
Well, let me give a slightly different example. So, for a time in the United States, it was explored to reduce class size. By reducing class size, that's going to help more students. Well, that will work if teachers do something different with a smaller number of students. But in some cases, teachers were just teaching the same way. So they're just teaching the same way with a smaller group of students, and it wasn't effective in those cases. But in other cases, it was a powerful intervention because teachers adapted instruction, gave more individualized support. So back to your case of being held back, if there's support services, if there's a greater awareness of those children's needs of what to do, being held back, if that brings up those supports, then that will do something different for those children. What Frank is asking for is do that sooner. Don't wait until the end of the year.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Because, for example, one of our smaller schools, like East End Primary or Northside Primary, that has a smaller group of kids. You can actually see some of the kids that are actually not doing properly in class. And it would be nice if, they can just keep them back somehow or the other in regards to helping them.
Well, even okay. So it's September. So helping them now in the current grade level, I think, is what they need as much as anything. Which is what Frank is suggesting. Before you wait till the end of the year and decide you're going to need another year.
Just out of interest, in the small schools, both of them have a numeracy intervention teacher who will take the children who are struggling and work with them as a group of three and help them develop the skills that are missing and then get them back into that classroom working more productively. And we did this with the year 3 this year, right across the system, and a massive improvement in the children's performance. Okay, and you see them, because I went in and looked at lessons. Children actually who used to be quiet, held in the background because they weren't confident about the maths, now speaking out, now coming up to the board and showing how they're solving the problems. So that's, for me, that's where you solve it. Identify where the difficulties are and find means of supporting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Mom?
No, thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing. I think it's a great contribution.
Okay.
All right, be safe and enjoy it. Mr. Fox, we have another in the queue. All right, take care, Mom. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling, and good afternoon to your panel.
Afternoon, Mom.
Good
afternoon.
Hello.
I want to ask them a stupid question, and I hope that one day it will become good sense. How do you feel and what do you think about the children of the world today with cell phones from primary school up to high school, and then they go on to college? College is totally different, but from primary to high school and junior high, do you think that the way these kids are holding onto their phone and they're more into the phone, into the music and so forth on their phone more than their education to a certain extent, do you think that something should be done in the future or whatever in regards to making these cell phones educational at the same time while these kids are in school?
Interestingly, they are not allowed to have them in school.
Well, I know that.
Now,
but the facts remain.
Yeah, I know.
They're with them in school.
But I've got to say, I think it is clearly an issue because you want the children to be interacting with each other, not just interacting with the device. And I must say, I see teachers trying to encourage children to be sociable towards each other, respecting each other, criticising each other, and so on. And these are important life skills. And I don't know if there's any research on the influence of the iPhone and so on, but we've got to constantly monitor it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a seductive, addictive piece of technology. You just walk around streets and you see people using it.
Yes, I understand that 100%. That's why I was saying, do you ever think that education should ever be a part of the cell phone? Because then the kids are more into these cell phones than they are into their books to a certain extent. They just hold onto those cell phones for their life. If they can go in the classroom and use them, some would do. And they're just in these phones. And I just think that they will put some education into these cell phones we could probably have a lot of better educational children coming out today all over the world, not just in the Cayman Islands.
Well, there's so one thing that whether it's a laptop or a phone, I mean, they do have access to an incredibly large amount of information on their phone, where one doesn't really need to wonder about something anymore. They can just look it up, Google it, and such. So they have immediate access to information. They don't have to wait to go to check out a book from a library. So it is an incredible resource. But I think much like the earlier caller had mentioned with the calculators, we're just beginning to understand ways that these tools can be used in educationally valuable ways. And I think what Frank had mentioned about, look, the school is a special context where you get a chance to interact with folks your age, folks younger or older. We need to really preserve and value that opportunity because it's not always going to be there. And so learning how to socialize is important.
So I understand where you're coming from because socializing, when they're at home, they're by the table, mother, father got their phones. Go to a restaurant, mother, father has their phone, sister, brother, cousin, everybody's on their phone instead of them trying to get have a conversation and interact with each other and find out what happened to them and so forth. Everybody's digging down their cell phone. So I was talking cell phone in the guys up in the classroom trying to teach them.
Right.
They'll come more with the educational program that we still have throughout the whole world because the kids are going to the cell phones for a lot of stupidness to a certain extent. And I feel if they was having some of their subjects on their cell phone and that's just me, sir.
I hear you. I appreciate it, but it's a societal issue.
Yeah.
But thanks much, Mark.
Just out of interest, one of the presenters from the conference, Mikey Abels, is actually going to be doing a session with the teachers this evening, the high school teachers, and it's on about using the laptop to help the children understand trigonometry. Mm-hmm. So we are. It's a long journey trying to get that, but we are working on it.
But it comes back to us, leading by example. Whether parent or teacher, that we do what we say what we do. With that, Professor, if I may ask you initially, this idea of an IEP for all of us students, to the callers who were saying, well, the child is maybe not where his peers are. Do we need to do more in order to assess, identify for the early intervention? Well, let's start with that first.
Well, I think this goes back to the earlier conversation about the more we know about students earlier, the more we can respond to ways to support their learning. So you ask, should each student have an IEP? Is that what you were asking?
Well, yes, yeah.
So, I mean, in some sense, as we build teachers' knowledge of ways to learn, let's say in this case, mathematics, and give them the tools to assess children not on just the examinations, but as part of instruction, they're better prepared to move instruction in ways that are going to benefit students. So in some ways, it's not a formal IEP, right? That's a much more involved process, but it's at least being more in tune to the individual ideas of students, and teachers having a better understanding of where individual students are achieving well and where they're motivated and where they are ready to be challenged next. I think you see that more happening, and that's just more effective teaching. That's more when parents become more interested in their child's interests, we become more effective parents as well.
Indeed,
yeah. And it was just interesting. I was watching one of the presenters. She's doing some work on intervention with some of the teachers over 5 days, and one of the things she said to them: don't ask assessment questions unless you're going to do something when you've got the answer.
Yeah.
Because so many assessments we get are just pointless. They end up in some book or other, but actually they inform you about the thinking of the child and so on. Use it like that. Yeah?
So with that then, one of the first things in today's discussion that I made a note that I wanted to ask, this idea of age versus ability. And we seem to get it wrong respectfully in almost everything. Mm-hmm. On one hand, that child who is struggling, for instance, this needs a little bit extra help. But what about a child who seems to not exhibit an ability but a propensity to learn, and maybe a little bit of hate, if that's the term you want to use, we don't seem to do anything to cater to that child either. So how do we make sure that we get from those two ends, the one at the end who needs a little extra, but the other that could benefit from, we call it enrichment. We use the terminology, but we're not seemingly, globally, at least in the Western world, effectively deploying it. Professor Frank?
Right. Interestingly, I think this is what RME does really well, because it sets problems that, two things. One is that these problems are accessible because they make sense to the children. But the other one is that they're really challenging. And what you get is the children, they learn from each other, but you get them, they're solving them in different ways. And you see the level of sophistication that somebody's using. And then our job as teachers is then to keep that sophistication getting more and more and more. Yeah? But the other thing for me is that when that child who's not that good hears this child who's really good articulating how he sees it or she sees it, they actually learn from it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's about a community developing together. The classroom is a community, and in a way, the Cayman Islands is a community. Yeah.
I'm going to bring a slightly different but related perspective to it. So in this classroom I was talking about, the community college, where you had this flip-flop of high-achieving students wanting to just be told how to do it, and the struggling students now being more responsive and more engaged. The students who were already high achieving and looking for more challenges but not being told how to do it, as they started listening more to what students were saying and started seeing that, well, I'm not going to I trust that you can figure this out yourself from the teacher perspective. No, engage in this work, solve the problem, share some ideas. Those students who were normally identified as high achieving based on strong memorization skills, they were now being challenged to demonstrate understanding. Application. And so it's now to achieve well, it's about not just memorization, it's about demonstrating that you know how this works. And I think so that's a way within the classroom community, the higher achieving students by the old grading system were benefiting more as well.
Right. Back to the caller who constantly referenced figure in the head. We know, Mr. Frank, at least when we went to school in this system, show you working. How did you arrive at these answers? And there were some of our classmates who, the answer is 4. They looked at it, they know, doesn't matter how complex the question was, they knew the answer. They didn't have the time, maybe didn't have the initial foundation to show you the working. Is that an issue? I mean, do we need to...
Interestingly, one of the things the teachers do now, for children who do that, they insist that the child explains how they were thinking about it. Because if you can do it that fast, you can help others recognise, and it's what it usually means is that it's a structural understanding. It's this business of adding 19, I'll add the 20 and take 1 off. I can do it like that.
Right.
And hang on, others in that class have a right to see that. And for me, that's the important thing. And there's a business. It's interesting that sometimes we want people to write it down. Sometimes we want people to just think
verbalize
about it,
okay.
And verbalize it, and draw something maybe.
And there's another example of a slight twist, and referring back to the first caller, Pythagoras, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Yeah, a very very common factual knowledge that we expect students to come to know in geometry. Well, from the perspective that we're using now and shared at this conference, do we ever bother to ask students, well, what happens when a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared? What does that look like? Or less than c squared? What kind of triangles are that? And helping them understand, this is actually a relationship, not just something to remember.
Yeah. All right. Now, I'm not going to impose on you further, but you're more than welcome to keep my company. We got a news break. Publicly and respectfully, do you want to stay or you want to hit on? Because I know Mr. Frank is thinking, I'm getting hungry, man. No, just kidding.
We've got to go because
I know.
We're driving the
Drive Miss Daisy?
No. We're driving Mikey Abels to the place where the teachers.
I know.
So I apologise.
No. We know the schedule is here. I just love education. Mr. Frank, thank you. Please, publicly, on behalf of the ministry, always extend the invitation to them to join us, anybody, anytime, to talk about education if we can help with the promotion. Professor, enjoy your time here with us. Don't make them work you too hard, too much. Too long.
Oh, this is a wonderful place to be. So thank you so much for inviting us in.
To our parents and to our pupils as well as to our principals. Whether you're a policymaker or politician or you're just a bystander, be involved because education is important. When we come back, let's have some open line though. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Literacy Month continues here in Cayman, and kids, young and old, are invited to enjoy a live reading during story time with local authors. This Saturday, September 22nd, Storytime continues with author Kathleen Bodden-Harris' Reading Quest on Yamal Road. On September 29th, Karen Chin will read H is for Heritage. It all happens at 10:30 a.m. at Books and Books, Cayman Bay. It's free and open to the public. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Pakistan's former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has been released from prison 2 months after he began a 10-year jail sentence for corruption. The release came hours after a court suspended the sentences of Sharif and his daughter Miriam, who were jailed shortly before July's general election. Aerial photographs of a North Carolina farm have highlighted growing concerns about pig waste stored in ponds. Floodwaters continue to rise after Hurricane Florence, and authorities are closely monitoring any potential leaks from what are called pig waste lagoons. The state's Department of Environmental Quality released data on Tuesday saying at least 13 lagoons have overflowed and 64 more are at risk. And warmer weather conditions in western Greece have led to the eerie spectacle of a 300-mile-long spiderweb in Itoliko. A vast area of greenery has been covered by the web, reports the Daily Hellas. Experts say it is a seasonal phenomenon caused by tetragnathous spiders, which can build large nests for mating. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
BritK protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
Brand Source Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs, and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort, and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brand Source Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brand Source Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And, again, a special thanks to the Education Ministry and in particular our last guest, Mr. Frank Eden, Professor David Webb from the University of Colorado over in Boulder. And for those participants who are going to be part of the RME conference, we got to get and remain involved in our children's education, not just in mathematics, but in languages, in the arts, in their athletic pursuits and the like. And if you, don't necessarily agree with me, but I would say just as you did that very first day that they started school, that they went into big school and that they graduated high school, let's remain when they go off to, tertiary education or whatever they're doing following graduation from high school. As their parents, let's make sure that we're involved in their lives continually, not in an imposing sort of, as they would say, destructive, commanding, demanding, sort of directing way, but give them the continued support, as I know many good parents do. So let's make sure that we continue to raise the bar and not so willingly reward mediocrity, whether that's from ourselves, from our politicians, from educators, or from our students. It's open line though. Let's take your calls, 949-8037. Or toll free with accompaniments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. If you want, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Let's share with you a comment on our WhatsApp. Like I said, it's going to be open line now. This listener messaged a little bit earlier saying, hey, maybe we should have a referendum for the early election too. Well, let's see if that tracks with any of you. What are your thoughts? Let's go to the phones though. 949-8037. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yes, good afternoon, Sterling again.
Yes, ma'am. Very good afternoon again.
Sterling, I was driving down to Georgetown a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
That first CIBC bank that's there in town that was named Cayman National at one point in time, I believe, is sitting there for sale.
Uh-huh.
And then Nova Scotia, I understand the government purchased that.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling, I guess a picture of the iceberg for downtown Georgetown. We're talking about bringing Georgetown back, but every time I turn around, something is leaving out of Georgetown, going to Cayman Bay and wherever else they may choose to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about the building a pier for larger cruise ships to come to the Cayman Islands. It's sad when we get on the line on the radio and say that we could probably lose this and lose that if we don't get these large ships coming to the Cayman Islands. I understand that when I heard some time ago when they was building this Kingston Hotel, they was trying to attract high-end visitors to the Cayman Islands. I said at that time that was an insult to the visitors that who's coming here as is now, and then we're going to make a statement. We're trying to attract high-end visitors. I thought all our visitors coming to the Cayman was high-end. And now that with the cruise bus, and they're talking about trying to attract high-end visitors to the Cayman Island on these bigger cruise ships. And if we don't get with the program with these cruise ships, that is so much bigger and can bring so much more income and more people to the Cayman Island. Sterling, I want to know, how long does it take for them to build one of those cruise ships the size that they are built? And how soon, if we do get this docked, that we no longer will see one of those small cruise ships coming to the Cayman Islands? Because the way that things are going on right now is like, if we don't do what we got to do right now, tomorrow we are lost in the system when it comes to our tourism. Sterling, I went up to the compound, the dispatch the taxis downtown to Georgetown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're running the road back through there and coming out by the market grounds there. They went in there and removed the cesspool and rearranging the grounds there at the taxi dispatch. And now it's even making that area lesser space to even park. They don't have sufficient parking there from day one. And up there, yesterday was a jungle, plus the place was full of water. And that main road that they drive on to go down to the tax to dispatch. You know, we got the education department there, and we got that huge security system that just went in there about a year or so ago. And the road got the deepest holes you can think of. And that security system, companies there with other companies in there, and they have to park out on the main road when their parking lot can't hold everybody apparently. Plus, the taxi dispatch has a very small parking space up there, the taxi dispatch, and they have to park on the road from time to time too. What I'm trying to say is, if we don't have any way for these taxis to park as with the amount that we have right now, where is the parking lot coming from for additional taxes and toll buses that they will be bringing in here if this dock is built here in the Cayman Islands? So, Sterling, you know, it's easy to get up and say what needs to be done, but all the pros and cons of everything to be done in Cayman, it needs to be looked at very careful because, Sterling, we are surrounded by water. We have nowhere to run if anything happens to us here in the Cayman Islands, water-wise, hurricane, rough seas, and whatever the case may be. England is far away. By the time the warships get here, we are practically all drowned. I hope that never happens, believe me. But, Sterling, we need to be careful when we say we can attract high-end visitors because if they're looking for high-end visitors to come to the Cayman Islands on these big old mega ships in the future when they build our supposedly dock, if they think for a second that those high-end visitors that come in on those ships going to go and buy 2 and 3 Rolex every time they come into this harbor, they got another guest coming. And Sterling, our stores can't even hold half of these people. I used to work downtown Georgetown. I used to manage a gift shop down for island companies. I was a manager in one of those stores for a while. And I was in the smallest store, I would probably say. It was a T-shirt store. And Sterling, that store was so overstocked with stock, it was unbelievable. And every day, items was getting mashed up. People walking and backing into the shelf because the stores are so small and overcrowded with stock-wise. Sterling, one Easter, long time ago, but I took that store over from the manager was there. I pumped in that register. The digits on the items had 7 numbers, right? And I had a manual put in 7 numbers to bring out one item. And that one Easter, a few years ago now, I ringed up 8,000 and change of T-shirts and nuggets and keychains and so forth, short glasses for that company. And you see, Sterling, when you can do that kind of work for some of these people in these businesses, you are not counted as a good employee because you don't care how much money you make. You're still not good enough. But they can have workers today standing, holding their chin up, smoking a cigarette or on their phone. And that's okay. They're getting a minimum salary to go home with, and they can't make the ends meet. I want to talk about Miss Shirley when she called earlier about the Spanish. I love Miss Shirley to death, but I can tell you right now, in Cayman, we have to have a bilingual here in the Cayman Islands. Don't care how you look at it, shape or form. But the facts remain that individual should have had a little crash course in her drinks and a bit of little English to know how to take care of her customers when they put her behind that bar to go and take an order. If they couldn't give her a little quick cash course at the time, they should have kept her behind there and let her learn, let her see what everybody else was doing as a waitress so she could come out there and do the right thing because all that doesn't look good on us here in the Cayman Islands. So, Miss Charlene, I think sweetheart, we ain't get rid of the Spanish. That ain't going nowhere. It is the people who hire these people needs to educate them when it comes to having a little bit of English to work into their businesses. That's all I have to say about that. But Sterling, going back to the cruise ship, I take my hat off to the young lady I had on the radio yesterday, and I took my hat off to Mario. I tried to call him, but I couldn't get in. But Mario is right. And I did run to the dispatch yesterday, and I spoke to Mr. David Miller and a couple of taxi drivers Oh, you can sit down. You can sit down. I said, listen to me. I ain't against no dog. We need one, but where it's going to go, I don't know, and I can't be the judge of that. But I just want to say to you right now. Some of you been here for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, and me 12 years. If we didn't get a dog when it was popping in Georgetown many years ago, you all got to be careful sitting out and saying that's where we want it and we need a dog. If Jamaica got a dog and all the other Caribbean places have a dog, I say go to those countries and work and leave us alone. Let us work with our tenders and accept and appreciate what we're getting. Because sometimes being too big doesn't get you nowhere. Being just small and natural and neutral, what people have come to the Cayman for many years ago, we are losing it left, right, and center. I just want to say, we need a dog. But guys, the government need to hear our voices as well too. Let's get out there and sign those papers and say, yes, no, maybe. We need information. We just can't go by what they want to tell us. We need to have a town, have a meeting in regards to this dock being built downtown Georgetown. Cayman will be in a dying position if we ever get any bad weather in the future. And there, you know, like, you know, if they want to start that dock, if they ever get a permission to build it and start it, if a bad weather comes and mash up anything that they put out there, who gonna go and find the money to rebuild that piece that they put down there? In every 6 months, we're in a hurricane belt season. I mean, look at the airport. No jet lanes. People getting drowned when they come in here. The airport already gone over the budget and not finished. And so much more to be done to it. It's unbelievable how they can come in here and spend our government money. The school is not finished. They got kids coming from West Bay to Georgetown. They are tired. They got to get early in the morning to come to school Georgetown and go back to West Bay. By the time to get back home in the evening time and settle down, it's time to go sleep again. Every district should have their own high school, like how they got their own primary school. We need to wake up and put our children in a better state of mind when it comes to education. We got so many kids being left behind, and some of them are so disturbed, Sterling. It is pathetic. You just can't even say good morning to them. They want to ride you. They got a lot in their heart, and nobody knows what's wrong with these kids because they don't have anyone to say, you know what, we got to evaluate this child and see what's wrong with this child.
Yes, well.
I had a little guy say to me a couple of days ago, he said, Miss, I hungry and I had no lunch today. I said, why not? He said, I don't have no money. And I was eating a bag of M&Ms, and I gave him M&Ms. And it just breaks the heart when we got kids in high school that is walking hungry. And government had torn them on the left, right, and center. And people losing their homes. We need water to drink. We need electricity. And people wants to rent places, and nobody wants to rent because they got a job, but yet they can rent with a dog and a cat and a drunkard can rent your place and mash it up. But security can't come into your property. People who do a rental, ask for second deposit. Check your places every 6 months to see what condition is being kept in, and rent your places. Stop being so choosy in regards to children and renting it to a person with dog and cat and everything else. Sterling, I thank you.
All right, well, thank you for sharing as well. As you take the other caller, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
All right. Dwayne, you know, I seriously always it feel bad, you know, when you see somebody living in an old car. I'm doing some work, landscaping work in one building, cleaning around an old building, do some work, and I see one old car, you know, without tires, and somebody put in a blanket and sleep in there. So I asked him, how long you live in this car? 4 years. And the other day I was by Foster Airport at 10 at night. was waiting for my ride to go home because the person was in the supermarket and I buy my things. So I said I go sit down in those chairs, the one in front of Foster Airport. So I see some carton boxes in the seat. So I said maybe somebody dropped water or something in the seat and put carton boxes to sit down. So I went and I sit down there. I see somebody coming in a bicycle. He said, "Can you please get up? This is my bed." So I told him, "How long you..." And I have a conversation with him. He's homeless from many, many years, living in the street. And every day you see like those, not 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 or 50 is more. Unfortunately, we have this department, responsible about welfare or, taking care of those people. They open in waterfront. It seems they serving the tourists. They're not serving the people of this country. And the person need appointment to see their majesty. The one sitting in the offices collecting big checks and always in the phone, playing in their phones, because this is every department you go. I challenge you, Dwayne, tomorrow, walk in Midtown Plaza to this unemployment agency the government opened long time. They say they want to solve an employment problem. I challenge you, just walk suddenly anytime and walk there and look what the people doing. They are on their phone. You go to the bus parking lot where is the transport transport authority employee who should watch those buses, how they behaving. He is in his phone. So this is a problem. You call any government department, nobody answering the phone because nobody is doing his job. This is becoming a problem. And the issue needs those civil servants to do their job. I mean, it's from long time nobody criticized them because, they say those civil servants, you don't need to criticize civil servants. But unfortunately, you go on the street, you see too much civil servants, government cars driving up and down, and you see sometimes they carrying civilians with them, and you don't know who they are, where they going, what they doing, if they are in the job. You see some of them, they go 8 o'clock to work, drive the government car, and go drive with the government car back home. And they sit down 2-3 hours, and then they go back wherever they want to go. And the same thing in the police officers fill up in the coffee shop. What is this country going? The poor people are suffering. This social services, they are locking themselves in an office, waterfront, or wherever they are. They don't want. You have to speak to them. They need appointments. You call government building. I challenge you, if you call different departments in government, I challenge you, Dwayne, do it. Try call in government building certain offices. You will not get answer for 1 month. A whole month you call in every day, you will not get answer. Is this the customer service? I'm not here criticizing the Deputy Governor, Honorable Franz Manderson. He speak about this. He himself complain about this, and he himself trying to encourage civil servants to deliver a good customer service. And I always thank Mr. Manderson for all the good he do in this country. I am not here to criticize Mr. Manderson or say he is the problem. He is not the problem. The problem is people are working in government. They are not doing their job. There is people, you go in the street to see people who is in visit visa. They come into Cayman in a visit visa looking job. If you come in to visit somebody, you come and look at job, and there is 2,000 people in this country not working, or a woman coming every 5-6 months. I see the same woman coming here. She prostituting herself from certain countries. There is so much doing in the street you see every day. But it seems this government, the last one in the world, the last one in the world to care. They are caring to build the dock so they can help the business people. Austin sit down 4 or 5 years, he complaining about we don't need dock. And I agree with him. At that time, he was right. But now, with the big salary, Mr. Austin Harris, now he changed his opinion quickly. And there is too much people change their opinion quickly because of the money, because of the big salary they are getting. They are afraid to lose that big salary. They're not caring about the people of this country, because the people of this country, Dwayne, when they want to elect somebody, they need to look really who they are electing, because it's affecting my life and your life and everybody's life in this country. And it's becoming a problem to see too much homeless, too much hungry people, too much people beg you $1 in the street, and they are increasing the number, and social services are giving people driving cars money every month, $600, and they're driving cars. Where do they bring the cars from? The people homeless in the street, the one you should give $600 to, not the ones they have family and they have home and they can work. You shouldn't be giving all of those people. There is no justification to leave those homeless who live in cars. I challenge anyone from those social services to walk with me in the street. I will show them 50 people sleeping in the street every day. Not 50, more than 50.
As you shared. So how do we address that, though? I mean,
who should be serving the people of the country, they are busy in the phone, texting and playing with their phone. That's what they are busy with. It's a big shame in those people working in that department. Thank you, Dwayne.
All right. Thanks very much, man. I think we take a final break, Mr. Fox. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
The Advance Automotive Chevrolet $10,000 birthday giveaway is still on. Buy any new Chevrolet from Advance Automotive and enter to win $10,000 cash. Entries close 1st of December or after 100 cars sold, whichever comes first. Pick up a brand new Chevrolet Trax compact SUV, the most equipped SUV in its class. Now reduced to just $19,995. Get the best deal in Cayman and enter to win $10,000 cash. Visit the showroom on Owen Roberts Drive or visit AdvanceChevrolet.com for more details today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Tune in to Radio Cayman every morning at 7:20 a.m. for your daily weather update. Proudly brought to you by Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. With over 47 years of experience, they'll get the job done for you on time. Free estimate. Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. Call them at 949-4709 for a free estimate.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I believe we got two final calls online. Let's go straight to our phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon again, Sterling.
Welcome back again.
Okay, thank you. No, Sterling. Dwayne.
So formal.
I'm not used to call.
That's
I'm
okay.
not used to calling you Sterling.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to try to be quick. I understand what the last caller. Some of the things that he say is reality. Is really reality. I see a gentleman on Shedden Road mostly by Kentucky. And sometimes he be by the courthouse as well, and he's digging in a garbage. You can see that this man is, well, I don't know if he's mental or what, but he's digging in a garbage can for food and stuff. Then we have down here in West Bay, and a lot of other places where people is sleeping in the cabanas on the beach. And that's what Miss Jan was giving me things to give to people like that. Jan Thompson. And Jan, she said she loved me. I love her too. She's a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand what she was saying, but and that is the truth. I have a husband that is bilingual from his own country, and well, he speaks several languages, and my son speaks fluent Spanish and German, and I can barely speak English, but I understand Spanish. But we have to realize that in this country, they found it with English. It's a British colony. And I realize the fact that when you come here to work, you need to know some English. And that's the immigration department, that they should not give people work permits regardless of who that boss is or which Cayman boss that is. People work permit that can't speak the language, English language. Spanish is a beautiful language. My father was. He came from Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful language, but we have to blame our immigration department for doing these things. We can't go to Germany or anywhere else or to Switzerland, which speaks 4 different languages, and you don't know either language and think we can hold a job, but you don't know their language. Forget it. Forget it. You're going to learn the language of that canton. They call it canton.
Mm-hmm.
That whether it's the Italian part or whether the German-speaking part. You cannot do that. So why are we permitting people to work here that doesn't speak English? What help is that to the business. And I see quite a few people in bigger business, hardware businesses and stuff that don't speak English. For goodness sake. But, John, I still love you, and I hear you, but that was my meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, and I can tell you what that last gentleman was saying is true, and what John was saying is true, and I could hear that she was getting very emotional about the whole thing, and she has that right, too, because she sees it every day. Thank you, Dwayne, and you have a good afternoon. Take some rest when you go home.
Thank you, too.
Okay.
Have a good afternoon as well. And let's take one final call, I believe. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Hey, my friend. Blessings to you, man.
Yeah, I want to call this morning because the last part of your program this morning, was the I'm hearing an emotional when to the last part, but I couldn't get a call in. But anyway, I know how we had felt, for the culture. But I'm not calling about that. What I'm calling about is not the last caller, but the other caller. Listen, make I tell you something. I'm a civil servant. And listen, I don't want him to ever say again that civil servants be doing nothing, You know what I say? I'm a civil servant, so he needs to keep him out quiet and be careful what he's saying. Because I'm a civil servant, we work hard. Our civil servants, we work very, very, very hard. You know what I tell you? So you tell him to keep in his place. Thank you and have a blessed day, sir. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks very much, man. And I believe there are many people who work extremely hard within the civil service without question. And let's always, try to always raise the bar. Thank you all for sharing with us. Invite you to come back tomorrow for more Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Of course, we always invite you to be a part of our Business Buzz, and all of the programming here we have on Radio Cayman is for you, because of you, and for you. Have a very productive afternoon. Very safe one as well. And whether the roads are wet or otherwise, just be safe and courteous and respectful. It is, something my father always shares. Remember, you're driving for yourself and for others. So whether it's the pedestrian, or whether it's the cyclist, or the motorist, let's extend courtesy, care and attention, and respect. Until tomorrow, be blessed.